The sun had barely risen when police sirens shattered the quiet neighborhood. An elderly black man leaning on his cane was suddenly surrounded by flashing lights and shouting officers. Neighbors peeked through curtains, mouths agape, as the men laughed while handcuffing him, mocking, dismissive, treating him like a criminal. The old man's face was calm, almost eerily so, as if he knew something they didn't. Whispers spread that he had once been an ordinary man, leading a quiet life. But today, the world would see him in an entirely different light. In mere moments, the laughter would stop, and the courtroom would bear witness to a truth nobody expected. The old man, Mr. Samuel Brooks, had lived in the same quiet town for decades. Everyone who knew him described him as gentle, wise, and patient, the kind of man who remembered every neighbor's birthday and helped children with their homework. He had once been a respected attorney, a brilliant mind who had fought tirelessly for justice. But time and circumstance had led him to retire early, living modestly in a small, weathered house at the end of Maple Street. Morning routines were simple yet comforting. Samuel would sip his tea on the porch, listening to birds and the distant hum of city life. Yet beneath this calm, there was a lingering unease. He knew that being a black man, even in retirement, meant navigating a world that still saw him differently. Every glance from strangers carried judgment. Every encounter held the potential for misunderstanding. On this particular day, Samuel had stepped out to mail a letter, his cane tapping softly against the pavement. The sun glinted off his bald head, and for a fleeting moment, he allowed himself a smile, imagining his grandchildren's faces when they received his little surprise. But before he could even reach the mailbox, the screech of tires and flashing lights erupted behind him. Neighbors began to murmur, their curiosity and fear mixing in the air. Samuel's heart remained steady, though his mind raced. He had faced challenges before, legal battles, societal prejudices, personal losses, but nothing had prepared him for the humiliation and danger about to unfold. As the police approached, their mocking laughter slicing through the morning calm, a quiet determination settled over him. Whatever happened next, he knew he would not be broken, and deep down, he understood that this moment was far from ordinary. It was the beginning of a story that would shock everyone who witnessed it. Samuel Brooks stood silently as the officers closed in, their laughter echoing cruelly down the quiet street. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, some frozen in shock, others whispering worriedly to one another. Samuel's hands remained calm at his sides, but inside, a storm of thoughts raged. How could this happen in broad daylight, in a town he had called home for decades? The absurdity of the moment, a distinguished former attorney being treated like a common criminal, stung more than any physical threat could. The officers shoved him toward the squad car. His cane, usually a symbol of his independence, now felt like a fragile lifeline in a world determined to see him fall. "Just relax, old man," one officer sneered, laughter dripping from his voice. Samuel said nothing, his mind calculating each next step with the precision that had once made him a formidable courtroom presence. He could feel the eyes of his neighbors, the silent judgments and suppressed outrage, and he knew he had to endure the humiliation before revealing the truth. Inside the car, Samuel's memory drifted back to his years in the courtroom. He remembered defending those who had been unfairly accused, watching juries dismiss evidence because of skin color or background. He had spent decades fighting injustice, and yet here he was, the target of the very prejudices he had battled all his life. Every chuckle from the officers, every mocking glance, fueled a quiet fire within him. At the police station, the routine processing was anything but routine. Samuel was photographed, his personal information recorded, and officers whispered jokes at his expense. He remained composed, noting details that might one day matter. Though outwardly calm, a simmering tension built with every passing minute. It was clear that the system that claimed to protect citizens was blind to fairness when faced with prejudice. Word began to spread through the town. Some neighbors quietly called friends, sharing their outrage. Others felt helpless, unsure how to intervene without putting themselves at risk. Yet, amidst the fear and whispers, a subtle current of hope emerged. Samuel's composure, his dignity in the face of mockery, was inspiring. It reminded those who watched that strength was not always loud. It could be quiet, resolute, and unwavering. As the hours passed, Samuel was escorted toward the courthouse. The city streets were unusually silent. The tension in the air was palpable. Officers continued their routine, unaware that Samuel had prepared for this moment long before their arrival. Every step he took was measured, every glance calculated. The injustice they had inflicted was undeniable, yet Samuel carried with him a secret advantage: knowledge, experience, and a lifetime of strategy. By the time the courthouse came into view, whispers had transformed into murmurs of anticipation. People gathered along the sidewalks, curious, apprehensive, and uncertain of what they would witness. Samuel's calm exterior remained unshaken, but beneath it, a powerful sense of purpose surged. The humiliation, the mockery, the injustice, it had all led to this point. He was about to reveal a truth so striking that no one could ignore it, a reminder that dignity and intelligence could never be erased by prejudice. The courthouse doors swung open, and Samuel Brooks walked inside with measured steps. The polished floors reflected the bright overhead lights, but the officers, still laughing from earlier, barely noticed. They had no idea who they were escorting, no clue that the man they had humiliated was about to upend everything they thought they knew. As Samuel approached the courtroom, murmurs filled the air. Lawyers paused mid-conversation, court clerks glanced nervously, and onlookers leaned forward in anticipation. The officers, still convinced of their superiority, pushed him toward the front, expecting compliance, expecting submission. Samuel's calm demeanor never wavered. Each step radiated quiet authority, the kind that demanded attention, even without a word. Then, the moment arrived. Samuel reached the judge's bench and, with the dignity of decades of service, removed his coat. The court fell silent, every eye locked on him. Slowly, deliberately, he revealed the robes he had hidden beneath, robes that marked him as a retired Supreme Court judge, a man whose judgments had shaped laws and held powerful people accountable. The realization hit like thunder. The officers' laughter died instantly, replaced by shock, confusion, and a deep, gnawing sense of shame. The courtroom erupted. Gasps and whispers cascaded through the room. People who had once dismissed Samuel as just another old man now stared in awe, their assumptions shattered. The officers who had mocked him were left frozen, confronted by the very authority they had thought powerless to stop. Samuel's eyes swept across the room, not with vengeance but with a quiet, unyielding truth. Intelligence, experience, and dignity could never be undermined by prejudice. Every injustice they had attempted, every laugh, every condescending glance now confronted them in full measure. Samuel's composure, his calm resilience, had turned humiliation into triumph. The courtroom became a stage for justice, one that had been years in the making, one that demanded reflection from all who witnessed it. In that instant, it was clear. The world had underestimated him, and by doing so, revealed its own ignorance. Samuel Brooks, once ridiculed and dismissed, now stood as a living testament to the power of dignity, knowledge, and moral authority. After the shock of the courtroom revelation settled, Samuel Brooks took a deep breath and allowed himself a small, knowing smile. The officers, once laughing at him, now avoided his gaze, understanding, perhaps for the first time, the weight of their prejudice. The courtroom buzzed, not with ridicule, but with respect and awe. Samuel had turned humiliation into a lesson in dignity, proving that true authority does not need to shout. It commands attention through wisdom, patience, and integrity. The story of that morning spread quickly through the town. Neighbors who had quietly watched from windows shared the tale, recounting how the old man, whom many had underestimated, walked into the courtroom not as a victim, but as a figure of justice. Conversations began to shift. Assumptions were questioned, and for a moment the small town paused to reflect on how easily prejudice could blind people to the truth. Samuel's quiet triumph reminded everyone that appearances can deceive, and that respect and intelligence transcend age, race, and circumstance. Though the officers faced personal embarrassment and public scrutiny, Samuel chose not to gloat. His message was simple but profound. Dignity and perseverance are far more powerful than ridicule or hate. He had endured, he had observed, and he had revealed a truth that could not be ignored. His life, once ordinary to outsiders, had become a testament to the quiet but unstoppable force of resilience, wisdom, and justice. As Samuel exited the courthouse, the morning sun now felt warmer, the town streets alive with whispers of admiration. People realized that moments of injustice, no matter how public or humiliating, could be transformed into lessons of empowerment and reflection. Samuel Brooks' story would echo through generations, a reminder that integrity and courage can overcome mockery, ignorance, and discrimination. What about you? How often do we judge others without knowing their story? And what truths might we be overlooking in our own lives? Comment below your thoughts on Samuel's story. Like this video if it inspired you. Subscribe for more stories that reveal courage and justice.